Hello, everybody. Welcome today's live stream discussion film club for Killing Gaza by Dan Cohen and Max Blumenthal. Dan Cohen shot a lot of this, and Max Blumenthal provided a lot of the commentary. Let me just say at the outset, exceptionally well shot, well done. I felt everything was right about how the documentary was put together. Also, we were constantly with the Palestinians throughout the documentary, hearing them, seeing them, spending time with them. And it's not one note only. It wasn't just Palestinians saying, poor me, although that was obvious to what was going on. Certainly, we should have pity on what's going on with them. But we also saw other sides. We saw artists, we saw young people, we saw poets. And this allows us this kind of documentary that's shot in close to the time period in which we're living now. So the events happened in 2014 and we're now in 2025. So it wasn't so very long ago. We can connect what was happening in 1917, 1930, 1939, 1929, 1936 to 39, 48, 67, 56, 73. All of those things can connect through to now through documentaries like this one. The film has a very evocative beginning. He says, we start in Shujaiya, August of 2014, and we have Israelis singing. The translation reads, there is no school in Gaza tomorrow because there's no children there. These are the people who are going to be the light to the nations. These are the people who are going to show that they are they form the most moral army in the world. And they're singing about the death of children and celebrating it in the streets of Tel Aviv. This is who we're dealing with. We're dealing with people who shoot at paramedics, who use people as human shields, who write messages on bombs, who are eating sushi while dropping bombs on the Gazans. All of this is captured in the documentary. We have on the other side Palestinian adults, elderly, handicapped, some of them blind, carrying decomposing bodies of their loved ones to bury them, to give them a proper burial. They're doing so under fire from Israeli snipers who will not allow people to have the dignity of burying their dead. People are dead already. What they're hoping to do is get more dead people while those people are trying to pick up the loved ones they care about. There was a very poignant scene, I would say, dead in the middle of the documentary, in which a gentleman says, what film crew is this? American. He goes, oh, American, excellent. And then he goes on an epic rant in which he says, we want to thank you for our sandwiches and the tea, and also for the bombs that you give the Israelis. And the idea being, of course, Americans both provide the form for the genocide, and then we come there to document it later. And I'm not trying to denigrate the work that Dan and Max were doing and their team. I'm so grateful for what they did. But what he's expressing, the Palestinian man is expressing a truth that we all have to confront and grapple with. And that's why I say I am morally and financially culpable for what's happening to the Palestinian people as a U.S. taxpayer. I don't write a little note when I file my tax return and say, please don't use any of my money to go to Israel. And in fact, I can't do that. So while I may morally opt out by saying I don't participate in this, I can't actually opt out. My money goes there whether I wanted to or not. And so his reaction is a just reaction, and it should make Americans uncomfortable. If you don't support this war, why do you pay for it? Do you think that buying us some sandwiches is going to help with the fact that and he points to this young man, that his father is dead, his brother is dead? Another poignant quote from the film, we are shocked by the silence of the world. That's what the Palestinians have to deal with. We are shocked by the silence of the world. I said this in a previous live stream, but the deeply theological language that I hear Palestinians use, sometimes a little bit more sporadically in a documentary, this documentary was full of this deeply theological language, just coming out of the Palestinians' mouth as if it were a normal thing to say. Which means it is exactly what they say. They were not performing for the characters. We hear phrases like, if God wills, God have mercy, thank God, praise God, may he give us the strength to remain here. no idea that they are the originators of their own strength. The idea is, may he give us the strength to remain here. Knowing that that is an indication that they feel that their own strength is failing. We as humans, God, we may not stay here. Please, God, give us the strength to stay here. In contrast with the smug Western atheists like Stephen Fry, who thinks he's being so smart when he says, oh, well, if I had a chance to talk with God, I'd ask him, why is there bone cancer in young children? Palestinians don't ask questions like this, and they have at least as much of a case as those children with bone cancer that Stephen Fry is so indignant about. And are they blaming God? No, in fact, they're praising God. If God wills, God have mercy on me. Thank God, praise God. These are the words coming out of these people who are bombed. And I don't know what Stephen Fry's position is on Palestine, but I do know that his smug, angry atheist remarks fall short when confronted with the reality of what Palestinians confess. They do not buy into this. There is no God because something bad is happening to me. Because the Western atheist assumes God is somebody who does nice things to me all the time and gives me candy. And nothing bad ever happens to me. That is God. And therefore, when something bad happens to me, that means there is no God. It's a silly idea. No one has ever taught that. But that is what the atheists build as their straw man to easily knock down. And that's what Stephen Fry lazily does. And so Marie Laure, she says he's a Zionist. Okay, so it somewhat ties together. But I wonder what he would do if he was confronted with how these Palestinians react. And they do not react in his shallow atheistic way. They know that God reigns on the just, the rain falls on the just and the unjust, and that things happen to the just and the unjust, but vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And what else? And I've seen this, and I've seen it myself dealing with Palestinians in Palestine. There's still so much joy and humor. We'll be talking about something terrible in one moment, and then we'll make a joke the next one. And as I've said this quote on numerous live streams, a young Palestinian in Bethlehem told me, he said, we build the settlements in the morning and then we complain about them in the afternoon. Having that sense of, I need to make money for my family. The settlements pay a lot of money. I'm going to go earn money for my family, but in the afternoon, I'm still going to complain about it. But then he'll laugh about it with me. It's a deeply troubling thing, and easy for us to sit back and say what we would do in that situation. But there's so much humor, so much love, and you could see it in one of the shots, which I think is also the cover for the film. You can just see them lit up by the fire. You can just see the faces lit up, but the home has been demolished and they've just made a little fire of debris. And you can see smiles on their faces. They are living in the ruins of their house, using fire to stay warm because they have no electricity, no running water. And what do they have? They have smiles. They have words of praise for God. What can these people teach us about life? What can these people teach us about how to react to adversity in our lives? We have this man holding his 3-month-old child, saying he's only 3 months old, but he's seen war, and he's smiling. He's smiling in the ruins of his house. The eloquence, the calmness, the simplicity with which they speak, sometimes resulting in deep anger, but often that sadness that saps that anger. But it's all there. They're not speaking as unhinged, crazy Karens, which we so often see in the Western media. These are eloquent, thoughtful people, deep people who are confronting one of the greatest disasters in the history of mankind with grace, with love. And one of my favorite lines from this gentleman, I think he was living closer to the water, or closer to Rafah at least, because there was a lot of sand around. So maybe it was closer to Rafah. He says, we build a house, they destroy it. We raise a son, they kill him. We will not give up until we are all dead, and then they may enter Gaza. We have a man who reaches down into the dirt, rubs it on himself, and he says, I love this land, I will not leave. These are the people that they want us to believe are terrorists. And what we have instead are people who are simply grieving in their own way for their losses. We have a mother who's talking about one of her babies that simply died because the baby was cold one night. And you can see her mourning, but she mourns with this quiet dignity. And this little baby, not a baby, I would say probably a toddler, 3 or 4 years old, enough to have speech, says in Arabic, Grandpa, Mommy is crying again. Think about what that meant, that child knew that. He has seen his mom cry so often for the death of a brother she'll never know. She'll never have a chance to get to know him. In the ruins of Gaza, they host a film festival. I was staggered by this. So you can see the ruins all around, and they've managed to, they sang, they danced, and they put on a film festival. It was extraordinary. And I thought, because I'm an English nerd, other people might not get this, so I wanted to make sure that I shared it with you all. In the ruins of the Islamic University that was bombed, there's this girl who recites this poem, this very beautiful poem, but she ends with lines from T.S. Eliot. Now, as I say, I'm an English nerd. I spent a large part of my freshman year, in the entire, I think, second semester of my freshman year, studying T.S. Eliot and studying specifically The Wasteland. So when she starts listing at the end, sans teeth, sans everything, this light went on. I said, oh no, she's reciting part of The Hollow Men, which is a part of The Wasteland, a very famous, groundbreaking poem that T.S. Eliot wrote. But she's doing it in the ruins of the university. She's talking about a wasteland, in a wasteland. Extraordinary. We saw this painter. Her name is Malak Mater. I looked for her on Instagram. It looks like there was an exhibition for her in New York in November, but nothing since then. I hope that she is still with us. I would love to follow some of her work. If anyone knows, please feel free to put that in the chat. Yeah. What else would I like to talk about? Well, forget about what I want to talk about. What do you all want to talk about? Did you all have a chance to see this? And I apologize for getting emotional. As I say, I just found everything about watching this inspiring, and I hope that you all have a chance to watch this as well. Didymus, I hope you're doing well. I'm trying, Didymus. Nadine, I wish I had an ounce of their strength. Me too, Nadine. Me too. All right. Well, on that note, if there's not more comments, and no need for you all to keep seeing me get emotional, not something I'm used to doing on camera, but didn't know that was going to happen today. But if no one else has any other questions, please feel free to share in the chat if you have any other questions. Otherwise, please watch this documentary. It's only 1 hour and 30 minutes. If you'd like to support Dan Cohen, I think it's $3 to rent it and $5 to buy it. It's free online. They themselves have put it online on YouTube and Odyssey. So it's free, and they're okay as the creators with it being free. However, if you'd like to thank them in a small way, consider doing what I'm going to be doing, which is buying it on Vimeo. So some of that money goes to them, and then they can use it potentially for future film work. So you can find it on Vimeo. for $5. And that's a way for you to say thank you to the filmmakers for the work that they did, which, as I said, I'm going to do. I haven't done it yet, but I will. Thanks for some of the kind comments here. I agree with a lot of what is being said. So I can't promise that it's going to get any better as far as the documentaries that we're going to see, but it's really important for us to watch these documentaries, not just the historical ones, which we've been watching most recently. So last week we talked about 1973, and the week before that we were talking about 1967. In a sense, that's a little easier because it's distant from us. We didn't know those people, or maybe we couldn't have known those people. When you see something in 2014, you were born at the same time as some of these people. These people could have been your siblings. They could have been your in-laws. And so I think that's part of why it has a stronger effect on people, at least as just speaking for myself. All right. Well, thank you everybody for taking the time to join. And if you're watching this after the stream, consider leaving your comments in the chat so we can continue to have a discussion afterwards. And I will see you around this same time next week. We'll discuss another film relating to Palestine. Thanks for joining today, everybody.